Okay, what it do? We back. You feel me? SoapGawdsTV, we in it. Y'all, today is a wonderful Wednesday. I got a important meeting with Greg Green, investor Greg Green, philanthropist Greg Green, CEO, co-founder, company owner, the Greg Green. So I'm very excited, you feel me, of what I'm about to learn today, what type of knowledge that I can share with y'all so we can be, you know, sharp mentally when it comes to financial freedom. So, you know, we about to go handle that, y'all. And you already know what time it is. It's time to go make things happen. Don't be shy to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. And most importantly, if you're really a believer in the concept and what we're working to accomplish, please join now. Join the membership. It helps us grow. It helps the brand get to better places, and it helps shine a better light on our community and the positive things we're working to do. So let's get into it. It's gonna be a very insightful video. It might not be all lit like it usually be, you feel me? But
so I got into telecom by total accident, man. I was playing semi-pro football in Spokane.
Okay.
Like kind of like indoor league of football, but outside, okay?
Yeah.
And so I had tryouts in the United States Football League and the Canadian Football League, but I was playing semi-pro football. And one of the things they do is they get you a job working for somewhere, because you got, you know, there ain't no money in semi-pro football. Right. So they got me a job working for a telephone company. Okay. And this early telephone, this is when divestiture, like back in the day, you went to your grandma's house, it had GTE or AT&T on the bottom, an old rotary phone, whatever. Well, they broke up the phone company, man. Okay. So when they broke it up, like all of a sudden there were jobs, opportunity, like you could start wiring in this building. Like, oh, they need to put a phone system in here. So, so that's the kind of thing that we did, is install hardware and wiring and stuff like that. So they got me a job there, and I'm thinking to myself, I was always really entrepreneur as a kid. Okay. Like I always loved to think about business and stuff, but I'm thinking, hey man, I'm not gonna be here. I'm gonna be playing football somewhere, right? I mean, I was in training camp with Marcus Dupree, like, you know, great athlete, and I'm like, I'm not gonna be doing this. Don't worry about this telecom stuff. I don't need to learn anything here. I'm gonna play professional football. But that didn't work out, right? So anyway, the company goes bankrupt. Okay. And I started getting calls at home like, hey man, can you come and work on our phone system? Hey, can you come and wire a new bank for us, because, you know, your old company's out of business. And I'm like, man, I can make, back then I was charging, like, this is like late 80s. I'm charging like $25 an hour. You would have thought I hit the lottery, right? So I'm installing phones and phone systems. I'm doing wiring. I built my first company called Telwest. And today that company's still around. I sold it to one of my employees. Right. But I got into the business, and we installed phone systems for banks and things like that.
So you install phone systems?
Yeah, phone systems.
I was trying to find out what it was.
Phone system, like, hello, you know. Yeah. And then you have to wire them all. Then they go back to what's called a key system, and you connect that to the phone company, like your dial tone, your phone lines. Right. So that's what we were doing. And I'm thinking, you know, there's something out there more, like, and so I started watching. I'm like, well, they broke up long distance. Right. It was either like in the 80s, late 80s and 90s, it was either a beer commercial or a long distance commercial. You know, you're pretty young, you might not remember that, but I'm like, they're gonna break this up more. Like, you can actually choose who you want to get your phone service from. Okay. And then internet came along. So lo and behold, fast forward a little bit, in the mid 90s, I built a company building fiber downtown the streets of Spokane, Washington. Fiber optics. Early on.
I was about to say, because I'm hearing it early. That's way.
We're pretty ahead. Yeah.
I sold solar, so I know a little bit about fiber.
Yeah, right on. Okay. So we were building fiber through the skywalks of Spokane. They have skywalks because it's cold. So like Minneapolis, they have these skywalks that connect the buildings. And like, instead of digging up the street, and that's being an entrepreneur, you got to figure out, how can I do this more cost effectively than turn up the street? Yeah. And reduce the cost. So we're building this, and lo and behold, a guy named Craig McCaw. Okay. Now that might not mean much to you, but if you Google Craig, he was the pieneer of cellular. I'm not going to say Craig created and engineered cellular. Respect. But the guy built a company called Cellular One. Cellular One is basically what AT&T is today.
Right.
Like that's how AT&T got in the cellular business. They bought Cellular One for like $9 or $10 billion.
Sheesh.
This is like 90s. So 𝐦𝐤𝐤𝐬, right? So Craig's got, after debt, whatever, he's got like $7 billion. So he comes to me, not he, but some of his people, right? And I mean, I've met him and everything, but he come to me and they're like, hey, what you're doing with this fiber thing, it's going to be hot, because they just broke it up and it's like a $4 billion a year industry at the time. It's much bigger now. We want a piece of that. So I was the third acquisition of a company called Nextlink. Okay. Nextlink built a nationwide network of fiber through like NFL cities. Spokane was the smallest city.
Yeah.
In 1996, at 36 years old, I was part of the management team. We went public and raised $500 million.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay. I was with the company a couple more years, and that was my first retirement at 37 maybe. That was my first retirement. And I own a boat, like a 50-foot boat on Lake Coeur d'Alene. And in the summer, I just got fat. Like, I go to the doctor, like, Doc, what the hell's going on, man?
I gotta stop you there, Greg, because we can't skip over that.
Okay,
you said that was your first retirement.
That's my first retirement.
That brings me to my next question.
Yes, sir.
How did it feel when you made your first $1 million?
Oh, man. I realized I was a millionaire when I was like 30 years old. Okay. But that's a paper. Remember, we're talking paper, like not cash in a bank, paper.
Yep.
And there's a big difference, but you know. But selling my stock in Nextlink, which now today is owned by Verizon, by the way, just so you know.
Go ahead.
Selling that stock and having that money paid off my house.
Okay.
I paid off like a $200,000 home. Like, that was a big deal.
Yes,
I had no idea how much it costs to run a house, even with the payment.
Right.
Like, the payment's gone, but like, damn. So paying your house off ain't as cool as you think. Like, you know, and by the way, if you're really a business person and you have a 3 or 4% loan on your home, do not pay it off ever. Don't. If you're a business person, use that money to go make 20% with your knowledge. Yeah. Whatever you do, use that money and make those. You can't borrow money at 3 or 4% for a business loan. You can't do that. So I'm just saying, don't pay off the house, use the money. But man, paying, having that money, it felt really good. Okay. And so it sank in. My kids were in school. I got to see them a little more than I did. But man, it was a year later. I mean, it's like entrepreneurial's in my blood. And I'll tell you my story. My story is, my dad was abusive. My dad is an alcoholic, man, and he beat the shit out of me, man. He was a tough dude, and he was, it was bad. And I love my mom. We're really close, but all I wanted in life was for my dad to tell me that he loved me. Okay. And I never got that. He was never on time to a football game or a basketball game. Man. And never. And I just wanted him to say, man, I'm proud of you, but I never got it. I drove after that business side.
It's crazy you saying that. I was about to say that because we hear about those stories all the time, just in those inner city areas.
It creates that, yeah, man.
And you a person yourself that can say like, hey, man, no excuses.
I said that company, Tell West, was my first business. It wasn't my first business. 16 years old in high school, I hawked my dad's chainsaw to get $75 to open an arcade. Right. You know an arcade where you play games? Yeah. That was my first business. I was running it in high school, man. I went and got $75 and signed a lease on a building 16 years old and put an arcade across the street from an elementary school in Hayden Lake, Idaho. Yep. And the kids after school, where do you think they came? They came running over here, and I had a bunch of quarters, and they played Donkey Kong. And
invested into you early, man.
That was my first one.
Look, he was a hustler, man.
You have to be. Like, there's a guy named Gary Vee on TikTok, and I love following Gary, and he, and like, what I'm trying to do is like, hey, man, if we can create some content, that's great. But more than anything, I'm a believer, God's guiding me, and I believe it's my job. If I've had some success, it's my job. For Luke 12, for he who has been given much, much will be demanded. I take that as I need to give back. Like much will be demanded. So that's my job now. I've had some success. I'm not done in my business world, but I want to give some back. We help other people be successful. So that was the first business, and then I spent a year on the boat. I got fat. Doctor's like, well, you're not doing anything. I'm like, yeah, that's true. So I started another business right after that, and I sold that. In 2 years, I sold 51% of it to Avista, which was a utility. Right. The utility, the power company, Some of them own fiber networks because they own the poles and the right-of-ways to lay the fiber lines, right?
That's crazy.
So I was the CEO of a company called 180 Communications. I had built it up for about a year, and they bought 51%. We didn't really have any revenue. We were just kind of a startup. And they put $2 million into it,
right.
And I owned 49%, and I was the CEO of that. We ran that, and then we sold that in 2000, and I probably had 14 different companies, right?
Man.
You know, and so
you wouldn't say that you kind of like, was it spread yourself thin, or was it more like you believe in having multiple streams of income? Because some people, they say it's hard to find. Like the realtor told me, don't go out and get 10 houses. Focus on 3. You know what I mean? You don't want to spread yourself.
I do agree with that. Like, okay. I mean, you know, like, just do it right. Like that's the thing. Like whether it's 3 or it's 10, who knows? Maybe it's 6 or 7.
That's what's
like
up.
Maybe there's a middle ground.
I like
right?
that.
Like,
I like
you know,
that.
And
whatever fits you.
Yeah, whatever fits you. But I do believe that like if you got this little amount of money, whatever that is, it's $500 or $100 or it's 10,000, and you're young enough. Like for me, I'm in my 50s, man. Like real estate, I can't wait for 30 years for it to pay off the loans.
Facts.
Right?
Facts.
So those younger people, if you could invest in that now, do it.
Yeah.
And there's so much truth to all the stuff you hear about how you can borrow money and then leverage it against to buy other places.
Right.
You know, if you do it right, man, that's a good game.
They don't tell you about that.
To do that.
I was about to say, they don't tell you about that delayed gratification that it
does
take.
So we'll take that. Hopefully you got some cash flow off of it during that period. But yeah.
Because I know where I'm from, not ownership is a big thing that our culture is lacking. And I'm learning how important it is to have assets over liabilities. So that's why, you know. Yeah,
make a payment on a house.
Yeah.
That's a rental, not a car. And then if you can squeeze enough cash flow out of that house will then make the payment on your car.
Facts.
And maybe it's not the BMW M Series for 115,000. I'm a BMW guy, own a lot of them, love them. But maybe it's the junior one, you know, and then later we get the other one.
It's the old one I got out there, the 2006 X5.
Seriously?
Yeah, I got that out there.
Damn. I got a little 2M out there right now.
I seen it, man.
It needs clean, man.
Yours need clean. Oh, if it needs cleaning, I'm your guy, man. I'm told you, I'm the cleaning guru.
You are the cleaning guru, man.
But
oh man, I love that car. X5, X6.
X5.
You got an X5?
2006, man. I ain't there yet, but I'm working.
But here's the thing,
and
man.
I believe it's gonna happen.
Like, damn, an X5, like that's a good looking ride.
Mm-hmm.
You know. What's wrong with that? You don't need a new one. Like, that's an ego thing, man. Do I want a new one? Hell yeah, I want a new one.
It's an ego thing.
Yeah, it's an ego thing. Let it go, you know? I'd rather have that payment if I gotta have to make a payment than a brand new.
Even pigeon-toed, hiding from my folks, giving different strokes. Niggas bounce back like school dodgeball. You ain't really worth it if it's my call. I'm a hidden gem and you a slime ball. Check my